I was thinking, so maybe the best way to go about this is to give you a little bit of an idea of the history of Everyone's Aigburth, how we got started, and then tell you a little bit more about how we work, how we operate, and how volunteers get involved. And also, we've been operating now for 2 years, so how we're developing and the links that we're making. And then maybe at the end of that, maybe we could talk about, you know, the issues that are connected to the fact that there are food banks, that there are food pantries, that there are all these outlets that didn't need to use to exist. You know, the bigger problems, it's not that we think we're going to solve anything. We are keen that people think about the bigger issues as well. But we know that there is an immediate need that needs to be addressed, and we need to try and enable people to feel not hopeless and not isolated, and that they can get involved locally in something small which could have bigger impact. So the history is really the driving force to get our little Everyone's Aigburth going was an individual, Helen Stevens, who had already been involved in running a shop like this in Walton in the North End. And Helen had got involved in Mossley Hill, our area, because she was going to stand to be a candidate as a councillor. And she wanted to see if she could sort of promote more community engagement. And she'd applied for a grant to get some shop premises and to get some operating costs to see if we could set up an Aigburth version of the Walton shop. And she was successful in that. And at that point, she kind of reached out to other people in the community to see if people would get involved. And that's when I got involved. And that was in August 2020. And the shop opened in November 2020. So there were about 5 of us at the beginning. We initially thought we were just going to have a fairly small scale commitment, but I was saying to Margaret, now it's kind of consumes our life. Like so many of us, we get involved in something, a little bit reticent to commit too much at the beginning, and then you realize that this matters, it's a good thing, and you need people to take responsibility for it. So that's kind of what we've done. And in the early stage, the early preparation, it was literally just doing practical things like cleaning the shop, painting it. You know, there's 5 of us, buying shelving, thinking about how do you do the layout. We were lucky that Helen had previously been involved in running her own community enterprises. So she brought with her a lot of administrative and financial expertise. And was able to set up the systems, because if you think about it, you know, you've got to get your electricity account, you've got to get your broadband, get on the water supplies, you've got to get fridges. We needed to try and raise money for a freezer. We needed to set up a membership kind of format where people could join, and there was so many different things involved. But by November we were ready to start, and we opened up. And so when you think about what is it that we opened up something that we wanted to look like a normal shop. We didn't want people to feel like this was some sort of charitable exercise and that they would feel awkward about coming to, or feel there was some stigma. We wanted it to be completely open and inclusive, and say that it's really inviting people who care about waste or who need a bit of help in boosting their own budgets, come along and join in. And so we tried to make it a cheerful space. You know, I've been to different pantries, and there's nothing wrong with this, but sometimes if it's organised in a church, that can be difficult for some people because they associate it with something that they're not familiar. Maybe it's not a place they normally go, but we're on a corner of a street, so it's quite a high profile place. People walk past, and so they might feel they could just pop their head in and ask us about who we are. So we made it a cheerful space. I even brought down my fairy lights and, you know, make it bright and nice. And none of us felt that we were involved in some sort of do-gooding project. We felt we were involved in some community action, which was about bringing things together. There's food wastage. There are people who need food. We need to have some kind of a hub that would allow people to access this food, but in a dignified and rational manner. So the shop opened and our first customers came, and now we have a big membership. I mean, when I say a big membership, currently I think we have something like 700 members. Now, obviously there's not 700 people that shop every week. We could never cope with that, but there's that many people who have some connection to us and support us, which is lovely. So we have the shop open twice a week. It's open. The main shop is on a Wednesday, and people can come from 1 o'clock till 3 within that time, and come and do their shop. Sometimes people can't make a Wednesday, so we also opened on a Tuesday evening, so that there's plenty of people who are in work who can't manage on the low incomes that they've got. So we have slots on a Tuesday evening as well. So on average in a week at the moment, we're taking about, there's at least 70 people who come and shop, and they come away with 10 items. Which, you know, is really going to help them through the rest of the week. Now, the problem for us is that as we're growing, we need more supplies of food. And at the moment, FareShare, which drop us off a delivery each week, they're having to reduce what they give to each community organisation because the demand is growing, the number of organisations that there are. So we've had to look into how can we get more supplies, and that has included us finding an equivalent organisation on the Wirral, which is called Pork Grocery, and we're able to, you know, spend, I think it's about £25 a week to get a delivery of food, which is worth more than that. So again, that helps supplement our FareShare delivery. We also get some donations from people, and we've recently had a grant. A lot of community food outlets have had this grant from the government, but it's been administered through the council via Feeding Liverpool. I don't know if you're aware of that, but I think, Margaret, you said you might invite Feeding Liverpool to come, and they're like an alliance of the community food outlets in Merseyside. So it's just trying to make networks and links to make the whole network a bit more coherent. So we've had a grant from them, and that means that up until December we can purchase supplementary shops. So I hope that's clear enough that people kind of are coming weekly if they want to, or they might come every fortnight. You know, it's up to them how they choose to interact with the shop, but hopefully it is going to make a difference to them. In order to run this, we have a team of volunteers, and we have 20 volunteers, because the kind of jobs that are involved, so there's 4 of us who are directors, we're key holders, and we need to open up the shop as and when it's needed. We need to have meetings regularly to talk about finances, stock, equipment, you know, communication with our members, trying to make sure our volunteers are having a good experience. So there's quite a lot to think about, to make sure that you're running it for the benefit of everybody. And we're volunteers, so we know we're part of the team. And within that team, there's also people who have joined us because they themselves feel quite isolated and want to get involved in the community, want to be able to feel that they're doing something meaningful. People who during the pandemic really struggled with their own health and their own mental health. So it's another layer of the involvement in everyone's Aigburth, to encourage people to feel that they are really involved, that they are what everyone's Aigburth is about. So we've got people who will help us in the shop and be on a rota. And we have 3 people on a Wednesday who will be there to, there's one person on the desk who will take money, the £3.50 from people, and will register the shops. There's somebody else who's going to be filling the shelves, which empty very quickly. And there's somebody else at the end who will help people kind of put the items in the bag and make sure they've got all that they are entitled to, and maybe see if there's some extras that they could get. We also need people who are drivers, because to get to Port Grocery, that requires someone to go out and collect that food. We need to get people sometimes to do our supplementary shop. So there's different ways that people are able to be involved with us. And what we hope is that that all of us feel that we are valued as volunteers, and we try to organise a training, because when you get involved in something like a food shop, you realise you're supposed to know about food safety and about food handling. So we've all had a little training, and we've now got our certificates and have our level 2 in food safety. And it allows you to keep thinking that maybe there's other developments that would enable people to feel more confident about taking different roles in everyone's Aigburth. So, we're going to do more computer training so people know how to do the registrations and on the desk. We want to try and share it all out so that it doesn't just become the same people doing the same jobs. And we want to enable people to feel like their own skills have been expanded. It's a lively WhatsApp group for our volunteers, plenty of messages and encouragement and thanks to each other when, we know that we've been doing a lot during the week. And part of that is part of what we value ourselves. The thing about how to be involved in everyone's Aigburth, so you can be involved just being a member, you're involved as a shopper, you can be involved as a volunteer, but we've also found people have just walked past the shop and become involved by just dropping donations in. We had, generosity just multiplies. I think when people see something like a community hub, it kind of makes people want to be part of it. And we found that our shop, which was originally a very dowdy grey paint with shutters, looking not very cheerful, we managed to get free paint from Brewers Paint Warehouse as we approached them. We've got it painted a very bright green that plenty of people had commentary on, possibly way too bright. And then we had someone who used to pass by regularly, Harry Mitten, who is a highly skilled sign writer, and just said, your shop needs a sign and I will do this for you for free. And he gave up 2 days labour, completely free to do that. He's done a beautiful job. And he also enlisted an illustrator, Joe Hicks, who's done all kinds of amazing work and has done some beautiful stuff in London, big buildings. And she came along and kind of painted on tins and carrots and various things to make our sign look. So now we have a proper profile. People kind of pass and they're no longer wondering what on earth is going on there. We call it a community hub. So that's a really positive kind of definition of what's going on. And as we're going along, we're finding that we want to develop other things. So we're now doing a no waste session every month on a Saturday. There'll be one this Saturday if you want to pop by and just find out about us. And what that's about is trying to reduce packaging. So we have bulk bought some eco-friendly laundry liquid. We've bought, shampoo, washing up liquid, various things, so people can come along with their bottles and fill them up and get it at the cheapest price that we can manage to give them. So it's encouraging people who maybe aren't always able to afford eco-friendly stuff. They want to do it, but it's beyond their pocket. If we can make it a little bit more accessible, well, that's a good thing. And also on the same day, we have a book exchange, and we've bought a printer so that people who haven't got access to printing or photocopying can come along and get that done as cheaply again as possible. So we hope that as time goes on, we will continue to evolve. There's loads of things we want to do. We used to, when we first opened, we wanted to do like an edible Aigburth, where we would just either do guerrilla gardening or just get some raised beds locally along maybe the Aigburth Road and start growing herbs that people could collect for free. We haven't got that done yet, but it's, you know, it's an idea that we have. We'd love to do things like maybe a tool library where people could exchange equipment when you can't always afford to have an item. But if you could go and borrow something for a while. As I say, our space is fairly limited. We're not a massive shop, but we want to use the premises as much as we can for the benefit of our local community. And we have reached out and made a lot of links. We tried to get community allotments, but that became bureaucratically embroiled. And I think maybe it's difficult for allotments to imagine a more open kind of multi-use. So in the end, we accepted that that wasn't going to be possible. But what's developed from that is that all the local allotments now know about us, and whenever they have a surplus, there's a lot of individuals who will come and drop off any extras that they've got, and that becomes part of the offer of what we will pass on to people coming into the shop. And we'd really like as much fresh food as possible. We know when you're on a budget, that's difficult to avoid just having sort of food that is often not the most nutritious. So if we can show that we've got locally grown produce as well, and often people bring stuff and we literally don't know what that vegetable is, or that, and we have to Google it, and then we have to find some recipes because we're thinking, well, if we don't know what it is, no one will take it because they won't know what to do with it. And then we'll put signs up and tell people how you could, you know, bake this wonderful squash or do celeriac, what you can do with it. And hopefully that's broadening people's thoughts as well about their own kind of diet. We did, right in the early days, we did have like a little online cookery class, because if you think about it, we got started at the height of the pandemic, which was quite a stressful time, both in terms of trying to make sure that shoppers felt safe and that our volunteers were safe and that we felt safe. We were all quite nervous about it at the beginning, but we organised it in a way that we felt was, you know, made sense. And I think, you know, there were people that used to come into the shop and say, you're the only people that we see for a week. We look forward to Wednesdays. It's great just to be able to have something to go to. So, you know, again, those were extreme circumstances, but it certainly highlighted a lot of the issues that have been there before the pandemic, but it kind of brought it into public focus that people are struggling and that, you know, there is huge inequality and that something needs to be done. So we've made links with allotments. We've made links with something called Growing Sudley. I don't know if any of you are aware of that, but that's a wonderful project. It has like therapeutic gardens and is really encouraging people to connect with nature and see that as part of their well-being. They do support sessions in the gardens for children with neurological diversity and support for families. So we've got a good connection with them, and we're hoping that some of our shoppers might become volunteers to help in the gardens. So there's a lot of two-way possibilities, and that's something that we'd like to continue to build. And something like the Green Network, you're doing exactly the same. We're aware that there's a lot of wonderful projects across Liverpool, across Merseyside, but often we just exist in our own little spaces, and that there would be so much to gain by increasing the kind of intersectional links between us, because we care about often very similar things. Maybe we're focusing on one particular angle. It all has very similar root causes, and it enables people to move from very specifics to see that there's a bigger picture, and that there are very big issues behind this. Because we are not deluded in the idea that our little food club is the answer. And it's a tragedy that there are so many food banks, and the real problem is that people don't have enough money, and that there is this inequality, and we want to get that understanding and that awareness as well. Maybe reframe the discussions about it, that it's not about people not managing their money, it's not about sort of charitable efforts, it's actually about equity, it's about justice, it's about redistribution, it's about people sort of making connections between the economy and the environment as well, and that there's so much wastage, and that there's things we need to do.